Coaches say all the time that you can't coach players the same today as you could 10, 15 years ago. Do you believe that? And can you articulate what the differences are?
Yeah, I don't know if I can articulate the differences. I just know they're different.
The Mike Babcock era in Columbus lasted just 2 months. And when it was announced, I made a video talking about how Babcock went from being widely considered the best coach in the NHL to becoming the most hated man in hockey. And after being given a second chance in Columbus, I asked the question, do you think Mike Babcock has truly changed his ways and adapted to be a different coach in 2023? Well, we just got our answer.
He called in players from his team and he'll say, let me see your phone. I want to see open up your photos and I want to see who you are as a person.
Mike Babcock has resigned as the Blue Jackets head coach. This comes before he even coached a game.
This guy didn't even make it to training camp. After an NHLPA investigation, it was confirmed that Babcock used his position to scroll through players' phones as a way to get to know the players. Now, this came to light on the Spittin Chiclets podcast when Paul Bissonnette put Babcock on blast for his methods with players, which then led to Columbus and their captain Boone Jenner making a statement saying that it was harmless and it didn't make them feel uncomfortable. But as the days went on, it was revealed that this exercise made a lot more players feel uncomfortable than what was initially thought. According to Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman, Babcock spent several minutes away from team facilities looking through a player's phone. Players confided in Biz, and it sparked this entire domino effect. Now, right from the start, this thing was a disaster waiting to happen. Babcock would have had to have been perfect for this to work out. But it also marks a shift in the dynamic of players and coaches all throughout the NHL. 10 to 15 years ago, if something like this came to light, it's likely that the franchise and the league would have sided with the coach. The NHL was a coach's league, and if you wanted to play in the NHL, you would do whatever your coach says. Now, like anything, that could be a powerful motivator and it could be used for good, but there's always the coaches who abuse that power. In the past, players likely would have never shared something like this, and depending on how that interaction went, it could have buried a player's career. Even when this was initially brought out, there was a lot of people on the fence about what to believe, but inevitably, the truth came out. Now, similar to the NBA, the NHL is shifting to become a players' league. Whether you like that or not really doesn't matter because it'll change the way teams are constructed, coached, and ultimately how they will win. This incident only reinforces that this change is coming quickly in the NHL. In the past, players wouldn't have had this type of power. It's why coaches like Babcock have been able to get away with this for most of his career. For years, the NHL has been a carousel of the same 5 to 10 coaches that get fired, hired, and then fired again, but the league is slowly transitioning to younger coaches with new and fresh ideas. The younger generation of superstars are more likely to respond to a coach who can effectively communicate to all 23 guys instead of having an authoritarian style coach. If you can't find ways to motivate your players without using these manipulative mind games, players will just completely shut down on you. Tactically, Babcock was a solid coach. He won a lot of games in the NHL, but as time went on, he couldn't motivate his players without using fear or some form of crazy manipulation. Players hated playing for Babcock, and it obviously caught up to him. Now, I really doubt that Babcock is the only coach in NHL history to pull off some of these shady tactics, but in today's NHL, the relationship between player and coach has never been more important. The best coaches in the league know how to push today's players to their limits without damaging the long-term relationship between the player and coach. In the past, you could clearly get away with that if the results were there. But if you can't adapt and properly build those relationships, you'll just be tossed out of the league before even coaching a game.